Well, thank you for all coming out on this wonderfully blustery day. Appreciate it. Yes, I'm Ruth Lahmayer-Chipps. I'm from Black River Falls originally, grew up here, went to school here, then I went away for a very long time to California, to Atlanta, somewhere in there. I got back to La Crosse and made a big circle back, and really pleased and enjoying working back in my hometown here. So I work at the hospital, do a lot of community presentations, also work with the patients there, as well as all of our employees with their healthy living goals. So thanks again. So how many of you had a good night's sleep last night? Had enough heat going on? I'm sure temperature can impact our sleep as well, right? What is the perfect temperature for sleep? A little cooler, right, isn't it?
Cooler, yeah.
Yeah. 67, something in there? Or lower. Okay, good to know. Excellent. Well, how many of you are interested in talking a little bit more about food, and in particular how you can work some of these healthy foods into your diet, make it simple and easy? Yes? Okay. How many of you think you already got it all figured out and you're doing all the healthy things you need to do for this good, healthy life? Yes? We're not perfect yet? Okay, I'm not either, so we're all in the same boat together. Where I'd like to go today is keep it pretty conversational so that you feel free to ask questions. And yes, don't forget to stand up and get some soup and indulge in some of those healthy goodies that Laura has brought us. I think that's just wonderful. Simple goal for today is to really discover the connection between food, our choices, how we can improve our sleep if necessary, and maybe plan a few new things that you could incorporate that could be simple, that also are going to taste good, right? It's got to taste good as well. When we think about all these different components and how, you know, food really is like medicine, we always say. So what we consume impacts our overall health and our energy, and sleep is a big part of that. And I see there's some good 10 top reasons on why sleep is good for you. So those are some important things to look at. But food is one factor in there. And Laura had touched on some really, you know, key elements in terms of, you know, what we can do. Caffeine. We know that caffeine is a stimulant, right? Increases our blood pressure, is a factor that causes alertness. Everyone is different in their ability to tolerate caffeine. I can drink a big cappuccino right before bedtime and it does knock me out. I don't know. It's opposite for me. But some folks may want to just stop the coffee after a couple cups in the morning. So that's a factor. But yes, caffeine and chocolate, other sources. We talk about teas. Remember, green tea is pretty high in caffeine. It's not an herbal tea. So if you're doing teas, yes, the banana, I'm excited to try that. What's another tea? Any of you tried other teas that are calming? Not only the warm calming effect is good, but some of the natural components and the antioxidants and the catecholamines, they're called, that are in tea can have an effect on sleep. The sleepy time is a mix of different herbs. Chamomile is one that you'll often read about, and that's associated with helping sleep. Anybody ever tried chamomile tea at night? A little bit? Okay. That's something to consider. How about any other teas or combinations that folks have tried? The daisy tea would be fun. I guess we'll have to grow daisies and then dehydrate them to do our own. But caffeine is a big factor. Certainly there's caffeine in certain soft drinks, we know. So we probably want to watch that, you know, and check the label. Even some of these kind of newfangled health drinks, check the label, because I know we have some at the cafeteria called Bai, which are, you know, tasty, they're low carb, but if you look at the label, there's an equivalent of caffeine to having a couple cups of coffee. So, you know, definitely check the label on just about everything if you're thinking it might have caffeine in it. So we want alertness at times, but we don't want that when we're trying to kind of relax at night. And question, yeah, Kyle.
Question about the caffeine. Is it measured in milligrams? Like, I'm wondering what is the standard dose maybe. If I look at a label and it says X number of milligrams,
yeah,
translate into that.
I believe a standard cup of coffee is about 30 milligrams. You know, and sometimes it's not always evident on the food label how much is in there, but some labels will include that. Tea, dark tea that's brewed, is pretty close to coffee. It's a little bit less in the same volume, you know, so it's probably in that range. But yeah, some of these energy drinks, look out, because they are loaded, you know, and you'll see people doing these 24-hour energy. They're super hyperdosing on caffeine. So we definitely want to avoid those things. And yeah, the natural kind of makes common sense. We don't want to eat a big meal and go right to bed. I think we know that, right? We have a digestive process that's happening. If you're trying to relax and sleep, you know, that's a competitive kind of activity. So it's better to try to, you know, at least eat 2 to 3 hours before you're going to sleep. You know, a little bit more if possible. A light snack in the evening, though, right before bed is not a problem, and that sometimes even can help people. What about the warm milk theory? Is that a proven one? Anyone had experience with that and say, that warm milk does the trick?
Works for me.
It just may. You know, it's probably a combination of, yes, some science, you know, also some anecdotal, you know, it's a memory that takes us maybe back to our childhood. We feel, you know, I remember that warm milk and it tasted good, and it helped me sleep. So, you know, that would be, but also the tryptophan that's naturally occurring, which is an amino acid in the milk, can help calm us, and there's a scientific process that actually happens. So yes, that old saying, remember how we always say, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, thank you, and then the pauper, light in the evening, is definitely the key. It's kind of the opposite for most folks, so that might be one area where we could tweak a little bit. Those lighter choices mean better sleep overall. And alcohol, that one has been studied pretty heavily, because a lot of people think, oh, a little hot toddy, that's going to help me get some sleep. It does initially help you fall to sleep a little quicker, is what they found. But in the long term, your REM sleep doesn't kick in that well. And it's kind of dose specific. The more drinks, the less effective sleep, right? So a small amount, a little bit of sip of a sherry is probably going to be fine. But yeah, having, you know, multiple portions doesn't really do the trick for us. So questions about alcohol, caffeine, warm milk, melatonin. Some people take melatonin supplements. You know, that's always an option too. And certain foods, they vary in their amounts. And they really generally have quite a smaller amount compared to the supplements that you can purchase. And I believe if you do take the supplement, most of the physicians say take it 2 or 3 hours before bedtime. Right, Paula?
That is correct.
Yeah.
The lower the dose, the better.
So a nice low dose.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because our body releases its own melatonin.
Right.
And the concern from some sleep physicians is that if you're giving yourself melatonin, why would your body release it? And
right.
So they want you to have the lowest dose, you know, 1 milligram. And
yeah.
Start there 2 to 3 hours before bed, jumpstart your own.
Excellent.
But there's 5 or 10 that you can buy at Walmart. It's just too much.
So what would be the lower dose?
Start it, I think the lowest you can buy is 1.
Okay.
I cut it in half.
Okay.
Half because I'm always jet lagged with night and day shifts. And
okay.
You have to listen to your body. Take it a couple hours. When you start to feel sleepy, go to bed.
Okay.
And then it will just work.
Yeah.
What about the spray?
I don't know anything about that. I'm sorry. There's a melatonin spray.
Yeah.
I can look it up, but I don't. Does it say there's a dose in it?
Well, it says, I believe it says like 2 to 6. 6 being a maximum, I believe. You know, sprays.
And that's a
Do it under your tongue.
under your tongue. Okay.
Well, my daughter told me about it a few months ago when I bought some. I can't really see where one way or the other is making any difference.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm doing the proper process. You know?
Okay.
Well, I do it low, and you know, none of that stuff is really FDA
Approved.
you know,
Yeah.
approved or a regulator. So, you know, you get a 5 milligram thing, you could get 10 milligrams of melatonin, you might get 1 in a pill. You know, they're
Yeah.
just not regulated very well. So make sure you shake up the spray and hope for something that we get.
So yeah, the comment was there may be a melatonin available in a spray, so we can look into that. And good point. Any food supplement, dietary supplement, it's not like a medication. It does not get officially approved for effectiveness or even that it is containing the amount it states on the label. The onus is really on the manufacturer. So that is kind of a challenge. One tip, you know, on that arena, kind of a little off subject, but if you're looking at supplements or vitamins, if you look for a little code or a logo that says USP. USP is an independent certification body that will actually study or test these products to make sure they really contain what they say on the label. If the product doesn't have a USP code on it, then, you know, you're really not quite sure. You're more sure that that's accurate if that has that United States Pharmacopoeia is the group. So you'll see a lot of the bigger name brand vitamins and supplements will have that on there. So it's a good thing to see, for accuracy. So some foods naturally occurring, we've discovered this more recently, have small amounts of melatonin. Now, I don't think you're going to overdose on the foods. They are to much lesser amount contained. But Harvest of the Month this month, kicking off in February, is actually almonds, and that's one of our best sources of naturally occurring melatonin. And I think we've got some of those laid out over there, the bananas, the fruit, vegetables. So it's something that we could just try to incorporate a little more of. Walnuts, cottage cheese, are other sources as well. And I do have, your handout should have most of all the information that's on my slide should be in your handout too. So we'll have that ready for you. Protein, we talk about protein foods like cottage cheese and turkey. The amino acid that's naturally occurring, there's 9 essential amino acids in foods that we eat. We don't usually think about them, but tends to be a little higher in certain foods, the tryptophan. And that's been linked with increasing serotonin levels, which is a hormone in your body that helps you relax and sleep. So that's the connection where our big turkey dinner, we're going to take a nap after, right? Pretty effective. So turkey and protein-containing foods, are key there. And we did, Laura had mentioned the tart cherries, tart cherry juice. It's pretty tart, but there's a naturally occurring concentration there that's on the higher end of melatonin. Also, kiwi tends to be naturally occurring. So a kiwi fruit could be a healthy snack as well as maybe give you a little dose of the melatonin. Berries and prunes and raisins, and those are all other good things that we can incorporate regularly. Complex carbs. I know we're always saying, watch our carbs, but remember it's important that we get enough carbs because carbs are the main energy food. Your brain really survives mostly off of carbohydrate, but we find it's probably better to go with more of the whole grain carbs that give you some nutritional benefit too. But carbs tend to have a more relaxing and calming effect. So having a little snack in the evening, some crackers with a little bit of peanut butter if you want, or a little yogurt would be another example that has carbs naturally occurring and protein. So it would make the tryptophan a little more available to the brain, helping you relax a little bit more. So in moderation is what we always love to say about carbohydrates. And there's the tea that we talked about. Peppermint is another one that you may want to try if you haven't. The Sleepy Time is a good tea. It actually tastes quite good too. I also included in your handout quite a lot about the Mediterranean style of eating, because this seems to really play very well into helping us sleep, but also the added benefit of helping us with heart disease prevention, long living lives. Folks that live in the Mediterranean, they've studied them extensively, and they find that they do tend to have a lot more quality of life, longer life, better sleep as well. So the question is it their lifestyle? Is it their diet? Is it a combination of the both? What do you think? Any thoughts on that? Well, it is kind of nice they don't have 38 below zero. That would kind of help the quality of life, and we wouldn't have to be all frigid and cold here in the weather.
Generally, we sleep better without cold.
You sleep better after, yeah, true. So there's probably some benefit to this, extreme temperature. What the heck, yeah. A lot of shoveling, you'll be tired after that, right? They think it's probably a combination, and they've done studies. I don't know if you've heard of the book, The Blue Zone. Blue Zones, it's actually called, I believe, where they did look at various different countries across the world. They went to Japan, they went to Greece, they went to Eastern Europe, and they said, why do the people that live into their hundreds, what are they doing? What is their secret to success? And they found that it was this Mediterranean style of eating. And what do we mean by Mediterranean? I think we've kind of laid out a little bit of the spread right here, using beans and legumes, veggies, lean meats, small amounts of meats, not big, heavy, the big burger at night as we talked about. So it's just it's a more moderate approach. If you think about what they found in these particular studies is they tried to look at, okay, Japan and Greece, what is their composition of their diet? these healthy people that live past the year of 100. What is the one food that they all seem to be eating a lot of? Any ideas of what that is? They were doing a higher percentage of fish and seafood than the average person, yes, but it's something else. It's another food category that they incorporate in most meals at quite a high percentage, more than the average American diet. Any thoughts on what that is?
Olives?
Olives were part of it, but that's not the group I'm looking at. And now in Japan, it might be the tofu, it might be the hummus in Greece. What is it? Rice. Beans and legumes. Dried beans and legumes. That was the food that they found was super high. It might be, well, in Mexico, it's going to be pinto beans. It's going to be black beans in another country. So that category of food. Now, how many of you on a daily basis consume some kind of starchy bean, legume, either a Mexican bean or a black bean in a salad, hummus dip, we're going to get our fill today, on a daily basis. So those people that have the longevity factor, the good sleep, the heart health, and everything, I'm telling you, it's beans, that musical fruit. We know how the song goes. So there's some recipes and tips and ideas in your handout. There's even a week of Mediterranean meal ideas at the back that you can look at. But maybe that could be something. How can you incorporate more beans and legumes? And you know what else? They're darn inexpensive, especially if you buy a bag of dried beans and peas. How much are they for a pound? I think I have a slide coming up on it. $1.25 maybe for a pound, which is going to yield 3 pounds of cooked beans. One pound bag is going to give you 3 pounds in the end. Compare that to what you pay for beef or meat, right? Significant cost savings, but then you're getting fiber, healthy carbs, and protein with those beans. With the meat, you're just getting protein. And certain meats may be fattier, which wouldn't be as healthy. So I think we're going to be on a bean trend now. I'm seeing people getting really excited about beans and legumes. Lentils are a great one too, because you don't have to soak them overnight if you get the dried ones. Rinse them off good, cook them like you do rice, and you're ready to go with lentils. I particularly like lentils. Okay, so there's the Mediterranean Sea, the traditional diet, as we talked about, very high on fruits and veggies, lots of plant-based proteins. So that's the beans and legumes. Fish is very common. Whole grains, olive oil, a little red wine, in moderation, right? There's a Mediterranean pyramid. This is in your handout as well. And it is kind of interesting if you put the U.S. food pyramid that you usually think of from the past. How is it different than the Mediterranean pyramid? Anything right away that you see different? What's at the very top of the Mediterranean pyramid? Meats and sweets. They're up there. Indicating have small amounts. Just have small amounts. Don't cut them out, but pretty moderate. What's the bulk? Right here. The foundation, the base. There's the avocado with healthy fats. All the beans and legumes, nuts. Back to our almonds or our walnuts or peanuts. The whole grains on the bread. And then I like the way they've incorporated at the very foundation is be physically active. Enjoy your meals with others. So getting into that whole social piece and the physical activity. So we're going to get a little more Mediterranean, even we're in the middle of the Midwest, So not only the benefits of better sleep potentially, but heart health. We see cholesterol levels coming down quite dramatically in people that have shifted from a very traditional Americanized diet to a high plant-based bean, legume, moderate meat and protein. We even think about the better management of diabetes is with the Mediterranean style of eating. So it truly is, and I think most of the research will back this up, it's probably the healthiest style of eating that exists. It's not necessarily a diet per se, but it's just more of an approach, which we can start to incorporate into our Wisconsin style. So fruits and veggies, we usually say 5 a day, 5 fruits and veggies per day. Anybody hit that? We can load up today, yeah. Not easy. You know, consider a serving is about a half a cup of cooked vegetable or a cup of raw, you know, or a salad, green leafy vegetables. We usually like to try to use that plate method where we say, look at your plate, make a line in half, try to make half of your plate from veggies. Maybe put the fruits on the side. You know, the more veggies you can eat, you know, the better, because they are super low in calories, carbs, and all those sorts of things, but also high in nutritional benefit. The other piece that we found in a lot of research for people that are healthy and live long lives is the color of their fruits and veggies. Rainbow-like. So it's different things. It's maybe a little eggplant here, and then there's a sweet potato that's orange, and then you've got a yellow pepper and a red pepper. So the color has a lot to do with good health and long life. Mostly because all those colors indicate components that are naturally occurring, that have all different functions in the body that we haven't even quite figured out yet, but we know there is a connection between colorful, high veggie, high plant-based meals and people that are healthy. So we're going to go with that. Smoothies are a good way if you're not a big fruit fan. You can even do veggie smoothies, throw them in there. We talked about the hummus. Greek yogurt dip is quite good as well. Anyone use Greek yogurt before? It's a little higher in protein. It's a little creamier, richer, but you can put your own spices and seasonings in there. We once did a little trick on the kids at the fair, and we had a ranch dip packet, and we stirred it into the Greek yogurt, and we fooled them. They thought it was great instead of the regular sour cream dip. So, so try that. Try getting your blender out. Have your blender sitting on your counter so it's visible and reachable, right? Anybody have their blender out right now? Can you get it out with an easy open a cabinet? Is it tucked way back there where you have to really bend down or reach and then you probably won't use it or do smoothies. Smoothies are a great way to incorporate lots of fruits and veggies. Maybe using yogurt or kefir. We'll talk a little bit about kefir coming up here, because I think that may be something else interesting to include if you haven't already. So what kind of fruits and veggies are you going to do? How can you get more Mediterranean in your Wisconsin lifestyle here? Any thoughts? Any ideas? Maybe pick one new thing you're going to try a week. You know, keep it simple. You don't have to revise everything overnight. But what Mediterranean style food? Could you take the cards from today and say, oh, I'm going to make one of these this month? Just a matter of kind of experimenting. The other piece, you know, related to just general overall health is fiber. And getting enough fiber is going to help with our heart health, with cholesterol lowering, with blood sugar maintenance, and with our plumbing and our pipes, which are very important. We're finding more and more now that the health of the gut has a lot to do with our disease process, or preventing disease. Who knew? You know, the kind of bugs that are in your gut have a big thing to do with what's going on. So you'll hear a lot about probiotics and prebiotics and, you know, all these different, again, supplements you could do, but you can actually, you know, a lot of the foods have a role in developing more of the good bacteria. And guess what kind of foods are really good for building good bacteria? Vegetables, and what's our other favorite food group? Beans and legumes. Yes, yes. They're considered prebiotics because they provide kind of the fuel that the healthy bacteria needs to incorporate and generate themselves. So the more beans, see, she's even getting excited and going to have some more beans right now. So good for the gut, tastes good, you know, overall. Here's my little assessment on the budget on doing more plant-based foods and doing these real rich, hearty soups with lots of beans and maybe a little turkey. You know what Laura did here is great. You don't have to even put meat in if you don't want to, but you could certainly. So a pound of beans makes 3 pounds. So you're getting 3 pounds for $1.44 compared to a pound of meat, which I don't know, an average $4 a pound. So very cost effective. Doesn't provide quite the quantity of protein that a pound of meat does. It's a little less. But most people do consume even a little more protein than they need. Protein isn't something we usually lack in our diets if you're eating, you know, a typical kind of Americanized diet. So So yes, let's get more of those magical fruits. How about nuts? Anybody incorporate nuts and nut butter? Yes? And nuts are all nuts are going to be pretty healthy. But yes, we probably want to watch out for the oiled, the roasted in oil, the real super salty ones. But almonds seem to be pretty high in a lot of the health benefits. They've been associated with heart disease reduction, inflammation, better sleep, all those good things. So almonds are way up there. You can even get the sliced or slivered and sprinkle those onto different dishes and vegetables. So that would be an idea also. Nut butters too. Anybody like peanut butter, almond butter? If you have a food processor, you can put your nuts right into the food processor, turn on the button and let it go. And eventually you'll have nut butter. And it works because there's enough natural oils that are contained right in those nuts that will allow it to soften up. So sometimes I'll do that. Yeah.
In the nut category, peanuts really are a legume, not a nut. Are they considered equal?
They are. They're still in that healthy piece. Yeah, when they did the studies, they found people eating not only almonds. Yeah, and you're exactly right. It still is kind of more of a legume category. But yeah, they're right in there with the healthy fats, the monounsaturated fats. So they're all on the list, you know, along with pistachios and pine nuts and all those goodies. So good questions. And the Mediterranean eating pattern does suggest 2 to 3 times a week for fish, but somehow they didn't include the fish fry on Friday night with the breaded deep fried cod. That didn't work out. I'm sorry. If you take the breading off, or you broil it or boil it, would be good. But it's actually the fattier fish that are more healthy because of those omega-3 fatty acids. And they have been looking at and studying sleep and omega-3 fatty acids too. And they found that there is some connection there linked to numerous benefits associated with better sleep as well. So how do we get more omega-3s without having to run out and buy more pills and supplements, which again, we're not quite sure what's in there. We can look for the USP code. What's the easiest thing to incorporate more? I'm looking at a picture up there. Who has this in their pantry? Sardines. Become a fan of sardines. They're inexpensive. They're a staple food in Greece and Italy, and they do fresh sardines and make dishes, wonderful pasta dishes and everything. But yes, canned sardines. Inexpensive, very high source of omega-3 fatty acids, naturally occurring. So, and you can get them there probably a little healthier in the spring water. You can get them in olive oil. There's even mustard sauce, tomato sauce, or you can do a little bit of fresh lemon juice, some fresh herbs. Parsley really goes well, fresh parsley chopped up with lemon juice and sardines. Pretend like you're on a Mediterranean retreat, but try to take it out of the can and put it on a plate because it's not appetizing to eat it like that. So remember the visual. Other sources of omega-3s, flaxseed. Anybody have ground flaxseed in their fridge? Very good. How do you use that?
I guess we put it with pancake batter, or sometimes sprinkle on top of oatmeal, or
excellent.
Just put a half a teaspoon or so with dry cereal.
Yep. And that's a real easy thing to incorporate. You have to remind yourself to do it. Do use the ground flaxseed because it's more available to your body. The whole seeds, although they look nice in breads, they won't really be absorbed that well. So try to get the ground flaxseed. I like to buy a big bag of it, put it in a little shaker container, and I usually leave a little bit out. Like instead of your salt and pepper shaker, there's your flaxseed shaker, ground flaxseed. Kind of nutty. The taste is, doesn't really add a lot maybe, but it doesn't detract from your foods either. But just a nice simple reminder, and that is quite a good source of omega-3s without having to do supplements again. Tuna and salmon could also be incorporated. So your tuna sandwiches, tuna melts, broiled salmon, canned salmon, work those in. How many of you think are getting 2 to 3 times a week you're getting a omega-3 fatty acid source of food or fish? Could be sardines. Yeah.
What do you do when you don't like fish?
You could focus more on the flaxseed. That would be a good way to go about it. Yeah.
Flaxseed tablets, because I know some patients that like to have that, incorporate that, and they swear by the flaxseed. And
yeah.
It's almost 100.
Yeah.
Swears by the flaxseed.
Yeah, there's flaxseed oil too, which you can get, but it's probably more effective to have the actual ground seed. That way you get some of the fiber and other nutrients. So it's pretty available. You can buy it already ground now. You used to have to grind it yourself with a coffee mill, but you can buy it all ready to go. So I know we're talking about food, but don't forget about fitness too for good sleep. Any thoughts or recommendations on physical activity and how that impacts your sleep? Paula, you want to chime in here?
Well, we don't like to have a lot of heavy-duty exercise within an hour or so before bed. We just as soon, if you're going to do that between 4 and 6 in the evening is kind of the best time when you release all those endorphins, and then you have your lighter meal, and then you're pretty much ready for bed. Too much activity at night sort of wakes you up.
Yeah.
To wake up, so.
But a regular kind of pattern of physical activity is connected with better sleep versus sedentary lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Stretching before bed is fine.
Yeah. And even the progressive relaxation where you squeeze your muscles and then you relax. And there's all kinds of routines. I see now there's even apps on your phone where you can say, yeah, help, do my relaxation technique now with me. And then you put the phone on and it talks you through a calming effect, Screen time, just to touch on that real quick, there's the blue screen effect that we know has an impact on sleep. So it's suggested that we don't look at computer screens right before sleep as well, right, Paula? Okay. And even some of the screens now, I see they have kind of a blue screen filtering technique. Some of the newer phones have that in there, apparently built in. I don't know how effective that is, but yeah, so constantly looking at the screen is certainly not going to help us relax either. But calming music and aromatherapy, there's the different little vials of essential oils that you can get. So and then if we're really flexible, we can get this, she's quite the gal. I don't know how she does that. And then, of course, the oils and fats, trying to, when we do use oils, try to focus on the Mediterranean style of cooking with a little bit of olive oil. The extra virgin just has more of natural nutrients. The more it's processed and the more it's heat treated, it then loses some of that viability. But that type of oil is more connected. And it's liquid at room temperature, essentially. If you do buy a big bottle of olive oil, though, be sure to probably keep most of it in the fridge, because after time, if it sits out at room temperature, it can lose its flavor and also become a little bit rancid. So, you can keep a little vial out for cooking, but be sure if you buy a bigger bottle, put it in the fridge, but it will gel, it'll get a little solid in the fridge. Bring it out, bring it to room temperature, and then you can pour that. So they also have looked at, I think, this analysis of lean beef that's grass-fed tends to have a lot more of the omega-3 fatty acids too. We were talking about that as another source as well. And yep.
On the olive oil, is there a difference for what type you use for salads versus cooking?
It's kind of more preference for your flavor and taste. If you don't mind the olivey taste, the extra virgin olive oil is probably, the richest in antioxidants and nutrients. If you're okay with that and salad dressings, use it, If you're baking and you still want to use olive oil, sometimes it's more appropriate to use more of a lighter olive oil that's not the extra virgin, because the lighter colored means it just has less of those. It goes through a secondary process, so it's more mild flavored, But you can even, I know some people that use, in muffins, they'll use regular extra virgin olive oil because the other flavors, the cinnamon or whatever it is, usually will overpower that, so. Good question. Oh, dairy, we were just going to touch on dairy products. The yogurts and also the kefir. I have to put a little plug in for kefir. Does anybody know what kefir is? It's a liquid, think of it as a liquid yogurt. You'll see it, we have it at the hospital in our cooler in the cafeteria. It's a Lifeway kefir. It does have a flavor. But the idea with kefir, I don't even know if I put it on there, this is more yogurt focused. The kefir is super high in probiotics, naturally occurring probiotics. Yogurt is okay, but it only has, even the Greek has 1 or 2 strains of probiotics. Kefir, which is a kind of a whole different process. It's a fermented milk beverage, technically, been consumed in Eastern Europe for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's very, very high, and about 10 to 15 different types of probiotics are in that product, naturally occurring. So you just get a lot more of the healthy bacteria with kefir. So you can kind of look into that. I know they have it in local stores here. You can buy it in a quart container. It's very tart, so if you buy the plain, get ready. You'll need to season it or sweeten it somehow, or just get we have strawberry and blueberry and raspberry. Anybody ever have kefir? Yep, it's Kefir. And there's a couple of different brands that produce it. You can make your own if you get a kefir starter. I think some of the stores like in La Crosse at the food co-op, you can buy it's called a kefir starter. Called a grain. It's not technically a grain, but it's a little organism actually, and it ferments the milk into this thicker, almost like a buttermilk texture, and it's super, super healthy. So that would be something else. You could use that in your base of smoothies, because it's kind of liquid already. Put that in first and then throw in some frozen berries and frozen banana and blend it up and do a kefir smoothie. So if you're planning your Mediterranean meals here, now we know where to start. We're going to build in some beans and lentils, right? You'd be surprised how satisfying they are. I was doing something on lentils for one of our Harvest of the Month programs, and I found a recipe for lentils for breakfast. Sounds kind of weird, but instead of oatmeal, I tested it out, and normally with oatmeal you get hungry real quickly. You know how that goes? You're like, oh, I had oatmeal for breakfast. I'm hungry in an hour. The lentils stuck with me for a long period of time, all morning into lunch. I'm like, I had lentils this morning. I'm not even hungry yet. So it was a combination of the protein, the fiber, and the healthy carbs. I did put a little yogurt in there. Lentils you can purchase in either, they're kind of brownish green or orange colored. And they're naturally that color. They're not tinted or anything. The orange ones, when you cook, they end up looking kind of white, almost like oatmeal. But in the stores here, you'll see both colors. They're kind of at the bottom of the shelf because they're not real popular. They're way down there when you go to the beans section. But try getting the red lentils. They're split already. And I cooked it up just like you cook oatmeal. Put a little bit of fruit in there, banana, cinnamon, some yogurt on top, and it was super satisfying. So you're getting, a lot more protein and benefit there. So that's something you could try. Let's do lentils for breakfast. She's crazy. So a few takeaway tips, think about maybe your vegetable and fruit frequency and those lighter snacks at night to help us with reducing our sleep. The red meat, yes, it's harder to digest. A big steak at night is going to maybe keep us up. A small amount of fajitas or something with black beans, that probably might be a better choice. Maybe increase the fish to a couple times a week. Get your sardines lined up in your pantry there. The physical activity, the nuts, incorporating that. Of course, the moderation along the way. And why not have a little bit of warm milk with some chamomile tea, perhaps, or put the two together. Could be very nice for our evening ritual for sleeping. So I'd like you to maybe think about your food choices, your timing, maybe portions. Can we ease down the evening meal portion a little bit, or have a bigger salad and have an extra serving of veggies maybe with that evening meal? But maybe you could think about what's one Mediterranean meal or item you could start doing. You can buy, which is great, the hummus ready to go now. That's very available in all the grocery stores. And that's chickpeas blended with olive oil and garlic and lemon juice. You can do that at home. Tahini is a secret ingredient for hummus if you ever make it on your own. It's a sesame seed butter. Looks like peanut butter, but it's made from sesame seeds. But that will stay in your fridge. If you ever have to buy that, you're like, oh, what am I going to do with this? It'll stay in your fridge for a long time. Keep using it for your hummus.
Can you suggest where to find that? I'm a big hummus fan, but I've never made it myself. Where do you find in the grocery store?
The tahini, you're talking about the tahini paste? Yeah, it's like a paste. It looks like nut butter. I've seen it in the nut butter section by peanut butter, so I'd go that direction. I think in town, I know at least one of the stores has it, because the gal said, I found it. But I think she had to search pretty hard. But I would check in the nut butter section. Yes, Paula?
made my own hummus before too, but the chickpeas have this thing on top of it. So sometimes when I'm lazy, I just throw it all in the food processor and it's not very creamy. And when I got a lot of energy, then I try and take that little shell thing off the chickpea.
Just that little bit of skin around. You're talking about the canned chickpeas. You buy them canned and you put them into your blender. I've never taken that shell off.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't matter.
No. Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of tedious if you had to do that because every little chickpea, you know, and plus you're losing some of your fiber if you take that off. Just keep blending it. It'll get smooth eventually. Maybe a little more olive oil will creamy it up, and a little more of the tahini, you know, will help blend with if you're thinking it's a little too rough. Yes?
Ruth, on one of your cards, it talks about with the banana tea that you can eat the peel. I guess I didn't realize that they
I don't know that I have ever done that. Laura put those recipes together. I don't know. I have never recommended eating banana peel. But if
you can also eat the banana and its peel an hour before bed.
So I can
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Eats bananas in the whole form. And I'm like, knock it off! My concern was that if they spray a banana with something, I don't want them to have. So their recommendation, what I did for this recipe is I got organic, and I still washed everything, but this tea was made with the peel on it, boiled in water with the ends snipped.
Interesting.
That's how you have it.
Okay, just snipped her.
The magnesium is most potent in the skin, and that magnesium is key for helping you.
And we do talk about eat the skin on fruit. Excellent. Well, who knew? That's amazing. So and kind of wrapping up then our Mediterranean lifestyle, even though it doesn't look like this in Wisconsin, we wish it did today, you can always imagine, if you imagine things vividly enough, it almost becomes real, doesn't it? So take yourself there, you know, in your mind to the Mediterranean with your meals, with maybe your attitude, your calming, you know, relaxing lifestyle. You know, the way we think impacts our sleep too, correct? If we get riled up about something, we aren't going to sleep well, no matter how healthy we eat. So it's that whole total lifestyle approach to healthy sleep and to healthy living in general. So let us know if you have questions. I'll be around here. Thank you for hanging out. We're going to finish off our veggies and beans while we're at it. And let me know if I can help you out with anything. Or come and call me or see me at the hospital. Appreciate you all being here. Thank you.